Dr. Phil is back with all new shows recorded before the stay-at-home order. Today,
I was an actor, a model, a Hollywood body double.
now a mysterious illness.
If I don't force feed myself, my body will go into an attack.
She feels atomic hunger and feels as if she's being electrocuted.
A constant need for food.
She would have hot dogs in her purse.
She once took a celebrity's uneaten sushi out of the trash at an event and ate it. So what could this mystery illness possibly be? Today's going to be a changing day in your life. You've never had anybody working harder to bring you to the threshold of change than right now. Today's guest, Susie, says she once made a living body doubling for some of Hollywood's biggest stars, like Kate Moss, Ashley Judd, and Kim Cattrall. But now, she says the woman in these photos is not the same person she is today. According to Susie, 10 years ago, she developed a mysterious illness that leaves her shaking, trembling, convulsing, and having to force feed herself more than 7,000 calories a day just to stop her attacks. Susie says things are so bad that she has to have food on hand at all times, including while she uses the bathroom and showers. She claims she even keeps string cheese and soup in her bra and hides food in the bushes to prevent her from having an attack while taking a walk. Take a look.
This weird illness has completely taken over and destroyed my life. It's taken away my career, credibility, most of my friendships, my social life, my figure. I'm incredibly distended, but I'll gain another 3 inches of distension by the end of the night. Everything is distorted. My eyes are much smaller. My lips are double the size. These are not the clothes I typically wear. This night, I must have gone home from the shoot and changed and gone to like the hot places back then and had a great night. Before this mysterious illness took hold, I was an actor, a model, a Hollywood body double for Ashley Judd. I was her butt. I was at every party, every premiere, and rubbing elbows with Hollywood's elite. I made a lot of money off my figure. That was my niche, was I had this like banging body, if you will. These pictures represent to me a youth and a figure lost, but at least I have photographic proof. My life now it's a very, very, very stark contrast. I'm like the lonely lady at the supermarket that's like, where did you get those shoes? Every day of my life is like a feeding frenzy. The hallmark of this illness is I have to force feed myself almost constantly. Yeah, so I just drink it right. Cheers. I have 2 bananas, in case anyone calls. If I don't force feed myself, my body will go into an attack. When I have an attack, it's a grinding hunger in my stomach and severe, severe heart palpitations, tremors, extreme anxiety, utter disorientation, and then my body will start jerking. It will escalate to almost what I would describe as convulsions. Sometimes I have the attack all day, and sometimes it's just a few times a day. In 10 years, I have spent between $150,000 and $200,000 on doctors. They basically just shake their heads. Like, I get a head tilt, and then my biggest fear is that I'm gonna wind up homeless, run out of my savings, and exhausted all favors from friends. Hope is fading quickly.
Well, I'm sorry that you're experiencing all of this, and you say you've spent close to $200,000. I know it's a guess, but $200,000 just trying to figure out what this is, as well as come up with some strategy, some treatment, some solution to stopping it, right?
Correct.
And you've gotten diagnoses, of course, along the way. How many different diagnoses have you been given?
Probably 15, 16, 17.
Really? Because I made a list because there were so many. Kinesiologists have said parasites, IBS, spasms. Functional medicine doctor has said POTS, mast cell activation syndrome, multiple chemical sensitivity, pancreatitis, fibromyalgia. I mean, it just goes on and on. You just had, there's 31 total, but nobody's really come up with anything that you could match a treatment model to change it.
Yes and no. I've gotten better, and then something will come along to kibosh it. So that's been what's been going on for 10 years.
And you've gone through a lot of alternative treatments, right?
Correct.
You've been injected with lizard serum.
I have.
Sun gazing, frequency, energetic therapy, sonotherapy, steroids, hypnosis, electrotherapy, colonics, chelation therapy, regular acupuncture, dry skin, brushing, cupping, juicing, muscle test. It just goes on and on. I just kind of made a list of
Look at that.
all the different alternative treatments that you've been through because you're looking for an answer, right?
I am.
And what's this you have on the table?
So I tolerate, I'm going to say maybe 20 foods. So this is one of my staples. I drink tons of lentil soup. I like to drink mushy stuff. I like to drink my calories because it's not about tasting it. It's about getting into my body quickly. But this is kind of a good compromise because it's chunky and liquid.
And if this gets interrupted where you don't get a chance to eat as you feel driven to do, then you start having convulsions, seizure-like behavior, muscle spasms to the point that it's just intolerable for you.
Intolerable is a great word. Yeah, it feels like death, a coma, a seizure, something is something catastrophic is imminent.
Well, and I wrote this down. Susie says when she gets attacks, she feels atomic hunger, dizziness, and shakes, and feels as if she's being electrocuted.
Correct.
This was not always the case. Is there anything you associate as a trigger that was the initial onset?
Yes. I started experiencing milder versions of the hunger at 26, but it was quite manageable. And then at 36, I titrated off Prozac, and it was like a punch in the face, and I've never been the same since.
And about this time, you also lost both parents.
Yeah. Sorry, it was 2.5 years ago. I was really, really close to my parents. Like I really, really, really loved my parents. And they were really supportive. And my mom was begging me to come home for years, but I just kept thinking, it's gonna get better, it's gonna get better. And so finally I'd made up my mind, I'm gonna go back home and move in with my parents. Thank you. And my mom, she got diagnosed with cancer and was dead 6 weeks later. And then my dad died 7 months later of a heart attack.
Very sorry for your loss. And in close proximity, you don't have time to finish grieving one before you lose the other, which is just a really big stress on you. All right, next, Susie says that her hunger attacks are so bad that she once took a celebrity's uneaten sushi out of the trash at an event and ate it. Not something she's proud of. She's just trying to say, this is what I have to do sometimes to get from one moment to the next. We'll talk about all that when we come back.
I keep water and food strategically located all throughout my house because when an attack comes on, time is of the essence. And I am force-feeding myself a cold box of soup. This soup is, it's revolting to me. I mean, it's like dog food. It bottoms up.
And later, and you knew her before, the Susie that you see now.
Yeah.
Do you get the sensation that she's still in there?
This photo shoot, I was just coming off Prozac. The photographer thought it would be cool if I looked like I was overdosing on pills, and I was like, oh, I have Prozac. And so I kind of threw it on the ground to get the shot. It's just such an incredibly prophetic image. It really, really like prophesied the next 10 years of my life. This picture really tells the story of my suffering.
Most people really enjoy a good meal. They enjoy eating, but not Susie. She claims the only reason that she eats is to survive. She says her force-feeding frenzy starts from the moment she wakes up.
A typical day for me, I usually wake up around 5 p.m. I'm really grateful to get sunlight because I live like a vampire. And the first thing I do in the morning is I have to wash my hands all the time. Like, I wash them like almost raw. And then I get into smoothie mode. Mango. I just drink it out of the thing. It's very uncivilized, but it's all about just getting it in as fast as possible. My goal is to always find the highest of calories for the smallest food. I am having, as you can see, spasms, a little bit of spasms, and my heart is palpitating like crazy, like it's really, really uncomfortable. But I feel very tremulous, like in my body, and I am force feeding myself a cold box of soup to try to stave off the presentation. I keep water and food strategically located all throughout my house because when an attack comes on, time is of the essence. I would say I drink probably close to 2 gallons of water a day. This is base camp for the chocolate peanut butter bars. Soup stash for like Biosphere 3. It's a lot of frickin' soup. I just drink it like it's a beer. I keep this by the sink because I wash my face with it. If I wash my face with city water, I get rashes. Sweets are just medicinal for me. Like if I have a bad attack, I'll eat a lot of ice cream bars, like 3 of those back to back. I spend a fair amount of time in the bathroom. I keep a soup close to my toilet. I keep a soup in the shower. My vanity these days is completely irrelevant. Concern about my looks is like way, way, way down on the list. Most of my days, I just Google my symptoms over and over and over and over again. And I always have to sit pitched forward. If I lean back, an attack will start. If I lay down on my stomach, it makes it better sometimes. Yeah, it's bad when I'm on my back. Oh, okay. Okay, and now I'm gonna need a little bit of baking soda because that neutralizes the acid. This soup is, it's revolting to me. I mean, it's like dog food. It's like in a can, and it's cold, and it's chunky and mushy. It's like taking medicine. I just try to get it in as fast as possible. I can tolerate it, and my options are limited, so bottoms up. My nightly ritual is stash of food. So I keep it here, and I usually take a chug of this sludge. I usually do 10. I do 10 big swigs because it hits my stomach faster that way. And it bloats it, which is ideal, strangely. My last thought before bed is, please, God, help me. Please end this nightmare.
Whenever you do start to have a reaction, you start to have an attack, how long will this last if you don't get to food?
I haven't pushed it beyond half an hour, I don't think, ever, because it's just so acute, and it's just second by second metastasizing into this incapacitating horror show.
Mm-hmm. And your typical daily intake, we've calculated to be about 7,702 calories with what you've listed, which is a lot of intake for somebody your size.
Yeah.
And Susie says that she just has to force feed this. And let's take a look at all the food that she would typically eat on a daily basis so you have some idea of what we're talking about here and what she's having to ingest in order to keep her body under control. These are the smoothies that you do, right?
Right.
And how long will it take you to drink something like this?
Let's say 20 minutes.
Then you'll eat, these are these peanut butter chocolate bars.
Correct.
You'll eat a half a dozen of those. Then you eat this much of leafy vegetables, then ice cream, French fries, apple, 4 cans of soup over here, then these 2 boxes of soup. Between these two, there's like 800-900 calories here. So this is just a constant thing for you.
Yeah, it's I hardly get a break.
You're having a jerking reaction now. What is the cause of that?
Sometimes it's hard to pinpoint. It could just be all the stimulus. Sometimes it's postural. It's hard to determine.
All right. Well, look, from walking around eating meat straight out of the pan to putting hot dogs in her purse when they left the house, Susie's ex-boyfriend says she didn't make living together very easy. We're going to meet Susie's ex, Louie, after the break. We'll be right back.
Susie and I met in a club. She was an it girl. I noticed Susie's eating habits had changed when we moved in together. She would leave the house and have hot dogs in her purse. Every 5 or 10 minutes, she would have to eat. It's really heartbreaking to think of Susie as this reclusive, sick person.
And later,
this is honestly, without doubt, the most difficult thing I've ever had to do in my life, and I've done some difficult things. And I have a feeling that it could be the end of our relationship.
I've always liked walking. I come out here for a walk probably 3 or 4 nights a week. I'll leave my apartment at like 1 a.m. I always have to bring a stash in case I go into an attack, so I bring a can of soup with me. This is my secret hiding space. I just kind of duck it in there. I've had to use my secret stash many times. Sometimes I'll walk for like an hour and a half, and this is a really gang-infested neighborhood. The last decade of my life has been marked by such pain and suffering and hopelessness, and part of me hopes that when I'm out here late at night that I'll just get abducted and they'll just end my pain. I would be, I think, more than okay with my life being taken.
Well, Susie says her attacks have caused her to lose most of her friends. Her ex-boyfriend, Louie, says it was hard living with Susie, and he even felt guilty wondering if he was part of the problem.
It's so painful watching Susie go from this vivacious, gregarious, social, beautiful girl to what she is now.
I'm having tremors because I get, triggered.
She has gone from this very funny woman to this very depressed person. Susie and I met in a club about 13 years ago. We were immediately drawn to each other. She and I dated on and off for 5 years. She was a hostess. She was very involved in the entertainment industry. She was an it girl. Susie had her own radio show. She had a tremendous amount of friends. Our relationship at the beginning was great. We had amazing chemistry.
It was love at first sight. I remember he was talking to some girl and I was just like, wow, that is my type. Like, I just thought he was so handsome.
We sort of challenged each other in a really great way.
He's really irreverent and clever and funny.
I noticed Susie's eating habits had changed when we moved in together. She would literally cook up an entire pan of meat and eat it all throughout the day. She would leave the house and have hot dogs in her purse. Every 5 or 10 minutes, she would have to eat. She was extremely possessive over her food, and if I ate it, she would get very upset. I could see the panic in her eyes. A few years ago, Susie was sitting on the couch, and she started going into a convulsion, and her eyes rolled back into her head. This convulsion went for so long, I literally thought she was dying. I, of course, said, we have to go to the ER, and she refused to go to the ER. It was terrifying to watch her go through that. She's put on a lot of weight, 40 or 50 pounds. Her self-esteem is completely annihilated. It's really heartbreaking to think of Susie as this reclusive, sick person.
It's really hard with this illness because people just think I'm like weird and being demanding and being neurotic.
She has very few close friends now.
Hope is only lost when you're like, I'm done. I'm not getting out of bed. I'm not leaving the apartment. It's completely a wrap. Like, you're not there.
No, I can't be there.
You can't be there.
You still feel like I seem like myself?
You're still Susie.
I fear that she will continue to lose hope and she will get more miserable as time goes on.
Thanks for being here, really. And I know Susie appreciates it as well.
Very much.
And you had no idea what she was dealing with when you first moved in.
No, I had no idea what she was dealing with. I knew from what she had explained a little bit and some other people had explained a little bit, but I was so wrapped up in my own problems at the time, which is originally why I went there. Susie's always been there for me. I've struggled in and out of rehabs and to get sober, and Susie was one of the very few people that stuck by me through all of that. And then I quickly realized, like, this is like, what is going on with her?
What was it that caused you to say, I'm moving out?
Because I couldn't put my finger on anything that was going on, I was like, maybe I have to remove myself from the equation, and maybe that's the problem.
And you knew her before, the Susie that you see now.
Yeah.
Do you get the sensation that she's still in there?
100%. She's incredibly funny, incredibly witty. She has an amazing mind. And I remember that party. And she is, so that Susie's definitely still in there, which is part of the thing that's kind of so heartbreaking about this, because I know it's right there, and I know that she's trapped in there, and it's this, you know, so.
Well, maybe we can do something about that. Next, Susie's longtime friend, Maxine, believes that past trauma and a possible dependency on pills could be to blame for Susie's current health woes. We'll hear what she has to add to this next.
What Susie wants more than anything is validation that she is ill. I genuinely was shocked to find out she was using psychic doctors. I was surprised when she said, I have Parkinson's disease. Every time I see her, I see less and less of the Susie I once knew.
I can't work because my brain is basically starving for oxygen and glucose. It's hard to function because I'm functioning at half my IQ, so following simple instructions is difficult. My hands shake so bad it's hard for me to type. Then add in all of my sensitivities. I would have to be policing everyone, and that wouldn't go over very well. I have crippling fatigue. I get nervous about not being close to my bed because I feel like I'm just gonna collapse.
Well, Susie's friend of 19 years, Maxine, says Susie refuses to discuss what could be the root cause of her attacks, and instead goes from one psychic doctor to another because, and I quote, they tell you what you want to hear.
18 years ago was when I first met Susie, and we worked together at a tabloid magazine. We talked a lot over the years about the struggles that she had had with bulimia. She would use laxatives, and also she would make herself sick as well. She refused to face up to her eating disorder, which I think it's one of the many things causing a lot of these physical symptoms. Susie blew through traditional doctors, and none of them could diagnose this mystery illness. I genuinely was shocked to find out she was using psychic doctors. These psychic doctors, they will tell her exactly what she wants to hear. What Susie wants more than anything is validation that she is ill. I was surprised when she said, I have Parkinson's disease. I said to her, how did you get this diagnosis? You know, she said, a neurologist, and just left it at that. I think she may have done some Googling, and Parkinson's popped up as one possible diagnosis, and she's run with it. I think she needs to admit to the fact that she's abusing Ativan again. I have literally begged Susie to go to therapy. When I told her I could get her free treatment, she still wouldn't go. She's so beautiful, she's so smart, she's so funny, but every time I see her, I see less and less of the Susie I once knew. This is like a version of an intervention for me. She is getting closer and closer every day to becoming a homeless person in the street pushing a trolley, and it breaks my heart.
Well, thank you for being here. It's obvious in listening to you talk about her that you really genuinely care about her.
I love her. I love her. Like, figuratively, she's my sister.
Right.
Like, I will love her forever. And this is, honestly, without doubt, the most difficult thing I've ever had to do in my life. And I've done some difficult things. And I'm doing this, and I have a feeling that it could be the end of our relationship, which I hope it's not.
What's your theory?
I personally believe, and obviously I'm not a doctor, but I personally believe that a lot of her issues are stemming from emotional trauma that she's gone through, that she's not dealt with. And I also think it stems from, you know, something that happened to her that's traumatic when she was very, very young. And she's never got to the bottom of that. She's never accepted it. She's never dealt with it. And I think that it's a lot of emotional trauma that is affecting whatever parts of her body.
So you think there's some emotional issues that are just not resolved, some unfinished emotional business.
Most definitely.
And when we talked to you, and you've been very forthcoming, by the way. There's one thing I'll say for her, she's been very transparent, answered every question that we've asked. You said, my OCD developed because I thought if I performed these rituals, then maybe God would protect me from my mom. And why would you need protecting from your mom?
That's why it's sometimes difficult to...
I don't think it's difficult at all. It's only difficult when the two of you try to undo what you just say. She was abusive, she did things that she shouldn't have done, but she was cute and funny at the same time. That's absolute
correct.
You said, my OCD developed because I thought if I performed these rituals, then maybe God would protect me from my mom. And why would you need protecting from your mom?
My mom was mother of the year. Like, she was incredible in every possible category, except she was raised Irish Catholic, and their way was violence with children. And so there was a lot of that kind of capital punishment, corporal punishment with my mom.
But it went beyond that. She was abusive.
Yeah, I would say so now. Yeah, like if I saw a mom treating her kid like that, it would, yeah.
You would be offended.
I'd be very... also lovely and funny and smart and wonderful.
Incredible, I mean, that's like the best.
But that doesn't undo. That doesn't undo what she did at other times.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I think that's why it's sometimes difficult to...
I don't think it's difficult at all. It's only difficult when the two of you try to undo what you just say. She was abusive, she did things that she shouldn't have done, but she was cute and funny at the same time. That's absolute
correct.
And then also your history with mental illness and disordered eating, you said OCD started at 11, you were diagnosed at 19, anxiety and depression, you were diagnosed at 24, ADHD diagnosed at 41, which I seriously doubt is an accurate diagnosis, that at 18, you tried to be anorexic. From 18 to 24, you were bulimic.
True.
And then you said that you felt like your brain made the connection that you were safe if you ate because you wouldn't get a beating.
True. True, I had that epiphany recently.
Yeah. You talk about trauma because you said at 14 you were raped and bullied, but you didn't really report any of that. You didn't talk about it until you were 19. You sat on that for 5 years before you gave it a voice.
That's true.
I don't wonder why you're having certain issues. I wonder why not. I mean, you've been through a lot of things and not done anything to heal those. So that's outstanding to me. I mean, that jumps out.
Well, I've been in talk therapy off and on since I was 19. I've had lots of that kind of therapy.
Yeah, I'm not talking about whether you've been through therapy or not. I'm talking about whether anything's been resolved or not. Okay, so what could this mystery illness possibly be? The fact of the matter is, I don't think it's mysterious at all. I'm going to talk about what exactly I think is going on. I don't think she's going to like hearing it. But if she really wants to get better, well, we'll see if she does or she doesn't. We'll be right back.
It just says my body is perfectly nourished. It's just an attempt to kind of reprogram my thoughts and my brain. My body, for some reason, thinks that it's starving. So if it sees it in writing, maybe it won't think that anymore. It hears me as a kid. A lot of psychologists say, get a picture of yourself and send the kid love. So I try to say, I love you, whenever I am gonna get one of my stupid ice cream bars. The majority of people don't believe I have an illness. My friends and family think that it's in my head. Unless it's cancer, people just don't care. They don't get it. Your pride and your vanity is gone, and you're on the internet begging for help. When I'm having one of my attacks, which, are really, really violent and really, really scary, I just imagine what my brother or my relatives think I'm doing in that moment. They think I'm probably at a party or at a dinner, when in actuality I'm curled up in a ball, convulsing and sobbing uncontrollably.
People ask me sometimes if I think problems are as simple as I make them out to be. I don't think problems are simple at all. I think they're often complex, but I think the solutions are sometimes very simple. Frankly. And one of the first things that I looked at was your language, because I think language is very powerful. Mm-hmm. And so I took a look at your language, and I found it to be very catastrophic. Mm-hmm. Very catastrophic, very dramatic and very catastrophic. Mm-hmm. Every cell in my body is screaming, really? Every cell in your body is screaming. You say, I hope to be abducted and murdered by a gang just so I can escape this. Extreme state of emergency, atomic hunger, wish for cancer, coronavirus so I can be killed. Everything is in the extreme. Everything is catastrophic. I did a lot of my work in behavioral medicine at Southwestern Medical School in Dallas, which is Parkland Hospital. Mm-hmm. They have a child burn unit. Be children in there with full death burns over 70% of their body. That's catastrophic. This is irritating. I believe in Occam's razor. The principle of parsimony says that the simplest explanation of a phenomenon is more often the best. Mm-hmm. I've tried a lot of things. Lizard serum hasn't been among them, but I understand that you're looking for something, and you talk to doctors that are happy to take your $200,000 and tell you whatever you want to hear. Mm-hmm. But I'm really surprised that this is described by you as a mysterious illness, because it's really not mysterious at all. It's not even that uncommon. There's a simple description, the disorder, it's in the DSM-5, that's called binge eating disorder. Mm-hmm. And it is recurrent episodes of eating amounts definitely larger than most people, mm-hmm. a sense of lack of control over eating rapidly when not physically hungry until uncomfortably full. This is something that happens a lot, actually. It's not, this isn't like, oh my God, what a strange situation. Let's talk about the other part of this, which is a conversion disorder or a functional neurological disorder. And this is a condition where there are symptoms of altered motor and sensory function that are incompatible with any recognized neurological or medical condition. Mm-hmm. And when you get into this, you see that the typical things that people experience are jerks, muscle rigidity and twitching, convulsions, things of that nature, when there is no reason biochemically or electronically for those things to be occurring. And you sleep at night and don't have those issues when you don't eat, but yet you have them during the day if you don't eat. So the question is, what's the answer to that? And is Susie willing to take the necessary steps to get healthy again? Because I've got a question for her that is going to be outcome determinative in her life and pivotal in what happens in the next 6 months. We'll be right back. What do you think about what I said to you?
Well, I agree on a lot of points. The binge eating disorder, I absolutely had a binge eating disorder in my teens. And what a binge eating disorder means to me is it's pleasure and escapism. And it doesn't necessarily involve a physical meltdown.
Well, first off, debating whether this is binge eating disorder or not, as I said, I'm not diagnosing you here, and I'm not much into labels.
Great.
I'm much more into descriptions. What I know is you're gorging yourself with food that you don't need and having convulsions and muscle twitches and dystonia and myoclonus that is just, there's no known neuroanatomical connection to explain it. I do think you're making it up. I just don't think you're doing it on purpose.
Right. Like, meaning like I don't know I'm making it up?
Yeah, I mean, you just said, I understand the power of language. I just filled the screen with all this catastrophic language. That's what you're saying out loud. God only knows what you're saying to yourself internally. My God, your body is chaotic.
Oh, yeah.
At this point. That's why I say I don't think you're doing this on purpose. I think you have gotten into a neurological loop where you're just doing this over and over and over in your head, and somebody needs to unwind that for you.
I agree.
And that begins with somebody that is working on your internal dialogue.
I agree.
And that is cognitive behavioral therapy, not in isolation, but with some other things where you take control. This isn't somebody doing something to you or for you. This is giving you the tools where you exercise control over your mind and over your environment. And then at that point, we have to get a baseline and see where you are hormonally, biochemically, every possible way, so we have a baseline. But you can't get a baseline right now because you're in such a state of arousal.
Fight or flight.
Because of all of this. We've got to get you calmed down, then get a baseline with some good solid lab work so we have something to work from, and then begin to build from there. It's not very exciting, it's not very exotic, but it is very effective.
I'm a firm believer in everything you said. I have been doing something called the dynamic neural retraining system for 2 years. And it's a lot of neuro-linguistic programming, and it's focusing on stopping your thoughts, stopping those catastrophic thoughts dead in their tracks and rerouting them. And so you have an association.
How's that working out?
Well, it hasn't been working. It hasn't, but I wanted to run that past you.
I've just told you what I think needs to happen and why.
I'd like to do it.
And, I
could be wrong. I'm not, but it could be. I think this is neither mysterious nor something that you can't just kill. I think you'll just kill it. I want to thank all of my guests today. For more information about today's show, you can log on to drphil.com. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And by the way, I read your comments and questions. For instance, Ava asked me, yes, I have a good question. How many ties do you own, and is there a favorite? The answer is, hell, I don't know. They dress me like a Ken doll. I just show up, and there's stuff hanging in the little spot, and I put it on and come out here. Robin dresses me, honestly. I swear I would come out here looking like Naven from The Jerk if I dressed myself.
With a Stetson.
She does that, so that's my answer. We'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.
can kill ya, but I didn't hear ya. I thought that I could fly, but woke up on the asphalt. I swear there was the last time. I've always been naive,